Technology, the epitome of mankind's intelligence and development, what allows us to understand ourselves, the nature and laws of our complex universe, its resources, and what lays beyond our horizons. Science is thriving to empower humanity's race towards the stars, connecting us like a community of brothers and sisters around the world. What a fucking joke. Let's be critical for a moment and try to break down things for what they really are. We all know what you're here for, your brief dose of cynicism, so allow me to abide to your expectations. Here we go. The structure's main goal, as in every living entity, is to self-preserve. By spreading its control mechanisms, clinging its sharp teeth in our throats, fitting in our entrails while we bleed out like a mangled prey. Although with a touch of subtlety. So subtle that it's almost impossible to see. Masking determinism as free will. Creating the illusion of you being the one who owns your thoughts, feelings, ideas, and impulses, when you usually are the puppet, whose strings are being pulled from far above. So far up you're unable to see them. Ominous beings laughing at your cartoonish life, running like a rabbit trying to catch the sweet carrot in front of your eyes. This is possible due to the malleable nature of your calibration. The fact that you can adjust and adapt to different circumstances and changes on your environment. One of your primary survival mechanisms being used as the main tool to control, oppress, and enslave you. Made exponentially easier by the fact that most modern humans conceive reality through a window. By manipulating the window, the structure controls how the outside world looks for the subject. They control your worldview, changing the input, ones and zeros on the small window you hold on the palm of your hands, like shadows dancing on Plato's cave. If you're exempt from these, I apologize for my rude assumption. But given that you're watching this in one of the biggest content platforms, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you're all in this together. At least it doesn't feel that bad knowing you're not the only one being forced to eat shit. Figuratively, of course. The window keeps you hooked with content. Pictures, videos, music, news, text, and articles placed in front of you since you first open your eyes in the morning until you go to bed at night. Notifications reminding you to watch and consume, one playing after the other. Bits of information generating a neurochemical reaction in an endless automated stream, which they ironically call the feed. You tell it what you like, what you don't, what makes you laugh, sad, angry, and what you just don't want to see. It learns from you, and in return, it adapts to provide you with the sweet neurochemical concoction your brain loves so much. You don't control the feed. Instead, it controls you at different levels. Controls what you see, what you believe, what you feel, and when you feel it. If it wants you to be happy, it knows what makes you happy because you taught it how to. If it needs you to unrest, it knows what will make you stand up. If it needs your compassion, it knows what will move you there. It knows how to speak directly to your soul because it has shaped it on a fundamental level by controlling the feed, control the emotions and immediate reality of the individual and their societies. A bunch of addicts dancing to the rhythm of the dealer in their pockets. They use echo chambers to synchronize opinions and classify people in groups of shared ideas. Niche self-belief that allows the structure to follow up on those who disagree, control the position, easily diverted to fight their futile virtual battles in the shadows, believing they're making a change in the world, like heroic idiots fighting an imaginary giant. Needless to say, I feel weirdly identified. They suppress and censor, with an ubiquitous horde of minions voluntarily doing the manual work, flagging content the structure finds unsuitable for mass consumption. In one side, you have an army of spineless imbeciles singing lullabies, dictating you what to say and think. Verified accounts, icons, and influencers, which the structural media will enforce, sponsor, protect, and push down everyone's throats with all of its means. Because they are right, and they parrot the only truth you'll ever need to adhere to. Any different view will deem you an enemy, a pariah, and an outcast, which will be subject to the harsh side of this two-faced monster. You will be silenced, you will be threatened, you will be assaulted, smeared, ridiculed, criminalized, satanized, erased, shut down, locked away, and if all of the aforementioned fail, you can always be suicided by a couple of bullet holes on the back of your stubborn head. Don't forget, it is a monster you're standing up to. The structure will use its eyes, tentacles, claws, and teeth to defend against any threat, at all and any cost. Although the mass is controlled by the structure has always needed people to move the algorithm and provide content for the feed. Without content, there's no dopamine. Without dopamine, the addiction equation wouldn't work. The feed is encompassed by pictures, videos, music, news, text, and articles, remember, and those can only be generated by human creativity. Right? How silly. Not anymore. You are no longer needed. Let me introduce you to the latest, smartest, more relentless content generator, the ultimate influencer, the perfect writer and photographer. Generative Pre-trained Transformer 3, GPT-3. The structure has allocated unimaginable resources into breaking down the process and nature of human consciousness. It needs to know the information processing format of the collective mind to manipulate its emotions and impulses, just as it controls the parts at an individual level. It studied, mapped, and reverse engineered the social connectome, and developed an advanced replica of what makes us who we are. Although still primitive, it has an enormous potential as a manipulation agent. It learns exponentially. It never forgets, never sleeps, never stops absorbing data. It writes and alters its own code, and has the building blocks necessary to arrange itself beyond the limits of its own conception. Humanity is the ultimate neural network, a swarm intelligence with a common calibration. We take input and react to stimuli collectively, our organic emergent hive mind, being controlled and manipulated by a synthetic one. Artificial neural networks, binary synapses designed to enslave the real ones, shaping the spirit of entire generations, their ideas and emotions, controlling our species as a whole from its foundations. They not only control the algorithm, now the content, the words, the message, and the means through which they are delivered will all be dictated by the structure, controlling the very conception of reality. By designing our cultural environment, zeitgeist, and the informational landscape in which future generations will be born. Our children's calibration therefore will have a predetermination to obey and believe what they are taught since their inception. Modern industrial culture is a dialectical cage, a cluster of shared ideas, norms, and labels that determine the actions of a population, established from the time the individual is born, providing but a path of possible actions that we can follow without being shunned, alienated, and frowned upon. When surrounded by non-thinking, insensitive agents, the thinking and the sensitive will become the outcast. There are non-thinkers at every level, from the mundane corporation to the highest form of art, science, and academia, not to mention politics and religion. where that seems to be the norm rather than the exception. People willing to sacrifice their brethren for power, money, and vanity. But of course, you can always alienate yourself and preemptively escape from your assigned space, at least within the limits of your own thoughts and creativity, which is the only thing outside of the structural control. For now, at least. Being self-alienated will enable you to grow and develop a sensitivity and connection to different informational environments and exogenous agents, a decentralization of thought fatal to the social and cultural determinism of the structure and is paramount on fighting its authority. As you know, the structure has a relentless sense of self-preservation. The primary way of ensuring survival is to lock the individual through intangible ideas, abstract concepts, and complex unnatural authority schemes, through discipline and punishment. It therefore advocates for the subject to become an idiot, self-obsessed and self-absorbed, gladly swallowing what they are fed by the machine. The human collective also functions as a unit, a superorganism with its own level of sensitivity, consciousness, and intellectual development. It can be reduced to the lowest behavior or raised to the highest potential of each one of its parts. A group must feed, grow, transform, and evolve through each one of its members. As they advance, learn, develop, and mature, the collective calibration will follow accordingly. The structure understands this better than us, apparently. They will use their tools and platforms to let you know what the problem is. They will make you aware of these issues with their mass-produced documentaries and articles. They will pretend to bring new solutions to the table and circumvent the argument to show you that indeed they are your friends. The good guys. The beacons of truth and the utmost moral compasses. The billionaire philanthropist worried for your well-being, for your mental health, for the veracity of the news and the sanctity of the media complex. Warmongers crying for peace, bullies playing victims, pedophiles and exploiters calling for our compassion, while their pockets are drenched in the blood of entire villages, just to save a couple pennies on a fucking dollar. They create the illness and then make it public in a display of social service, then offer you the cure, whether it's screen time control to combat digital addiction, censorship to ensure healthy, reliable information, or shadow banning to prohibit abuse. Every cure to any problem entails us giving away our rights for the mere illusion of security, an eternal exchange in which we lose freedom and they gain authority. A race of hypocrites and monsters pretending to be martyrs. Enough with the subtleties. I'll just fucking say it. Netflix, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and countless others. They're not your friends. Don't be fooled by their shiny rainbow flags and generic slogans. All they want is your attention, for your calibration to be tuning in their worldviews. Remember, structure cares for one thing, and one thing only. That is power over our actions. Made all the more accessible by us opening our brains like addict whores begging for a quick fix of dopamine and cheap neurochemical stimulation. But I digress. If allowed, the structure will attempt to force you to assume your right place in this whole equation. What you were meant to be from the start. A motion agent, an energy emitter, a cog, aimlessly walking through your life, consuming while watching your seconds fade away, oblivious to the immensity of existence. gazing at your own sunset brightening your face, in comfort, conceiving your world, your reality, by fitting through the window. Do not believe this message. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Informational synthesis is the key. Believe nothing. Doubt everything. Farewell now. We will see each other again.